Good morning, Neil Berry from HTG. Welcome back. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm Polly Hill from FSGB, and this is the latest in our series of podcasts talking around all things fleet management and road safety. Can you remind us a little bit about the company HTG and what you do and the size and scale of your operation?
Yeah, of course. So, Health Transportation Group UK, we operate non-emergency ambulances on behalf of the NHS. So we contract for large-scale contracts. We currently operate in Cornwall. We've recently acquired a business in Devon. We have an operation in Dorset, Essex, Norfolk and Waveney, North East Lincolnshire, and on the 1st of April, we will start a new contract in Suffolk and Northeast Essex. So quite an exciting time for us. We have around 1,000 employees at the moment. That will grow later this year to between 13 and 1,400, and currently operating around 400 vehicles, and that will grow to around 600 by April.
That's huge growth, especially at such a difficult time for many people. What is a non-emergency ambulance?
So it's a provision that the NHS provide to eligible patients to take them in and out of hospital for appointments. So patients that may not be able to make their own way due to their own condition, or for instance, we do a significant amount of renal dialysis patients. So those that are traveling to hospital 3 times a week, they are automatically eligible for not just our transport, but any provider's transport around the country to assist them in what's a really challenging time, having to completely change their life, and hopefully taking the travel commitments and the cost of travel out of their hands is really, really powerful for them.
And really vital work out in the community, and so essential that your drivers and vehicles are well looked after.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Literally people's lives depending on it, right?
it really is. But I think you have to have comfort in getting into the vehicle. So if we have a vehicle that's full of scratches, dents, bangs, that is an aged vehicle that's making lots of noise, it's really uncomfortable. And for a time that can be really challenging, we might transport people to oncology patient appointments, so cancer patients who are already extremely troubled.
Stressed and worried, and yeah.
They don't want to be in a vehicle that is causing them more stress because it looks like it's falling apart, or drivers with standards that are not acceptable. So it's a really, really important piece for us.
It's that safe travel, isn't it?
Really.
And so you're scaling hugely, as you said. With all of that scaling, how do you feel that you keep that kind of family feel and personal commitment to safety?
It's difficult. It certainly is quite a hard task. I like to say our USP as an organisation is that we retain a hands-on approach. So despite us having much bigger profile than we had 2 years ago, we've over doubled in size in that time. We still keep commitment to maintaining relationships with our customers and with our stakeholders and with our patients. So we try to show that we actually care, and we really do. When it comes to safety, we have obviously outsourced a lot of that work with FSGB, and having the support of FSGB to be able to allow us to keep that friendly feel about it, but we're driven by data, and that's really important because we're at a scale now where we can't afford to work off spreadsheets. We can't just hope and guess that we're getting things right. We need to make data-led decisions, and those data-led decisions through experience, through expertise that we get from FSGB and from our internal resources, it allows us to be able to put out more friendlier messages and try and bring people along the journey with us rather than become, a dictator from top.
And you have, I believe, a 98% driver compliance
Yeah.
rate. For any other CEO listening, or another fleet manager, for example, what would be your advice? How do you manage that? How do you keep going?
I can't take the credit for it. I'd love to, but I can't. I've got a fantastic team. So that's the first thing. We we spent a lot of time. So prior to stepping into the CEO role last year, I was Chief Operating Officer. So this really was my remit. This was in my control. During that time, though, we felt we had to do a lot more work. And sometimes that was being a bit grumpy with people and being a bit more challenging. But ultimately, it's ensuring that people understand why we're doing these daily vehicle checks. So what's quite unusual for us is that we have drivers driving multiple vehicles throughout the week. So we don't have one driver driving one vehicle and that's their vehicle and they own it.
Okay.
They will jump in and out of multiple vehicles in a day. So we need to have safety checks and daily vehicle checks done every single time that they drive our vehicle. That way we can track and log if there's issues with the vehicles. We can see when it was last driven by who and what might have caused it. But equally, we need to make sure it's safe for every single person that drives it. So there was a lot of work done by our fleet team and our operational management team to work with our colleagues on the road, those that are driving the vehicles every day, to get them to understand why it's so important, and less of a task, but really a safety focus. You're doing this for yourself. You're not doing it.
I know I can jump in my next ambulance and the check's going to be done and I'm safe and I'm going to get home to my family tonight.
Absolutely. And that's the priority. And so, yeah, to maintain 98% is quite an incredible achievement, especially on a fleet of our size. And it's been difficult, but it's one of those things, once you embed a process, it obviously becomes a lot easier to manage. But we start a new contract again in April, and we know the challenges that are going to come with that because it's a new process for people. But we've now learned our lessons from previous experience of how to make sure that we get people on board.
And like you say, certainly not held, that data isn't held on a spreadsheet. So how does that work? Can you tell me a little bit about how FSGB supports in that through the software hub?
So every day the member of staff will go onto their daily vehicle check on their phone. So again, we're quite different. So we don't give everyone an individual phone. So we have phones that are aligned to a vehicle. So you'll change phones throughout the day. Everyone has a login, and when they have that login, they can access their own FSGB app that shows the vehicle that they need to check. So they go through the daily vehicle check, that just gets logged. That gets sent off to the fleet team and the management team. And what's really important is any defects on the vehicle are alerted. So we can see straight away that there might be a light bulb out, or the tire tread is getting a little bit low, something like that, that gets straight away sent out, or it might be oil, or it could be anything on the vehicle. And that gets sent out, and then we've got an immediate action to fix. So that's been really important to us. And because it's driven by safety, it's driven by staff wanting to drive a safe vehicle, getting back to their families every night, as you said, we've managed to have people committed to it. But yeah, so the process for FSGB has been pretty seamless, to be fair. A fleet of our size, you just can't do it on spreadsheets. You can't do it without a system that drives the information. It would just take up too much resource to be able to do that. And from cost efficiency point of view, it's the best solution.
And is that specifically for larger fleets?
No, could be for any size fleet. Ultimately, safety is for whether you've got one vehicle on the road or you've got 1,000 vehicles on the road. Accidents could happen to anybody at any stage. We all drive, we all see incidents, and we all hope that we're never involved in them. So ensuring that everybody checks their vehicles, company car users like myself, we get a message to check our vehicles to make sure that they're safe, because I put my daughter and my wife in my car as well as myself. So it's really important.
Something we should all be considering really every day. And I'm guessing most of us probably don't to large enough extent. Obviously, I'm guessing on a fleet of your size, downtime's quite a problem as well. So there is a real incentive from a cost perspective too to keep these vehicles in tip-top condition.
Of course.
All the time, and the driver's aware of how safe that vehicle needs to be.
Absolutely. Vehicle off-road time. We're in a slightly different position to probably a lot of companies and a lot of listeners, in that we tend to have a fixed cost base, or fixed price, sorry, I should say. So we know how much we're bringing in every month, and what varies is the amount of journeys that we have to undertake. So the number of patients that we move for that price will vary every single month. Um, we don't have huge flexibility to bring in extra vehicles because we have to really keep our resources and our costs aligned to the money that we're bringing in. So our revenue is driving how much we can spend. So ensuring that the fleet that we have is maintained, the fleet that we have is safe, is vital to our business. We just don't have much flexibility to change that fleet at any time. We commit to 5-year contracts, and those 5-year contracts, we need those vehicles to last for with little movement up or down.
And that takes me on to another question. So we recently conducted a poll among our clients at FSGB, just about a workshop we're going to be running on the 15th of April. And detail about that will be published very, very shortly. The workshop topic, we wanted it to be something really relevant and something which everyone's talking about. And the big one came up, which is insurance and insurance premiums and these massive incremental increases. Would you say that that's something that's quite pivotal to your success, especially with your fixed income and your tight costs?
Yep, absolutely. Insurance has increased exponentially over the last few years for a multitude of reasons. And I think that's probably facing everybody, not just those who operate in large fleet, those who operate in smaller fleet, but also as individuals, that anyone who owns their own car will see that their insurance is going up. And there's lots of reasons for it, including parts are harder to come by. They're therefore more expensive. We've got longer delays on labour, so we're seeing less labour in the repair market. So as a result of that, we have less opportunity to fix vehicles quickly. That has increased costs on things like hire vehicles and so on. Then the hire vehicle companies are increasing their costs because obviously their cost base is going up. So it's this vicious circle that's going around all the time. And as a result of that, we're seeing individual claims and the reserves on individual claims increasing every single year. So what might have been a £2,000 reserve on a potential claim a year, 2 years ago, is now £3,000, £4,000. And as a result of that, when you get to the end of the year and the insurers then look at your claims history for the year and look at the ratio against the cost of the insurance for the year, and we've had times where we're seeing 80-90% claim ratio. And a lot of that is based on reserves, not necessarily based on money out, which I personally find extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
But that means that we've got this uncontrolled cost. We've got this cost that we just don't know what the following year is going to be. And it's really hard to budget. And so our insurance year, for instance, is January to December. Our financial year is January to December. Or when we're budgeting in sort of October, November time for the following year, and we're not getting our renewals until late December, every year we're seeing increased costs. It's extremely challenging for us to be able to manage that.
Could you explain a little about how the data that you have held with FSGB and the team at FSGB perhaps have been able to help you not be completely at the mercy of the underwriter?
Yeah, so various ways, to be fair. So if we take right from the outset, the first notification of loss. So we've previously had our team on the road, our drivers, contact the insurance or insurance broker directly with any incident that might have happened on the road. What we've had since we moved to FSGB is we now have all incidents be reported through FSGB. So that means that we're able to control, firstly, the messaging to the insurers. We as most companies or everyone does, there's an excess. So, there's an element of self-insurance. So we get to decide what we report to the insurer in terms of that excess premium. But equally, we might just go over it slightly as well, and we'll self-insure and we'll repair or provide whatever we need to do for a third party, for instance. So there's that piece which has been incredibly helpful to help maintain a reserve and on our claims ratio. But then when we have had those claims at the end of the year come through, and we're looking at the premium for the following year. We've had a lot of help from FSGB to drive down those ratios, so drive down those reserves, looking at it in a really pragmatic way and saying, well, actually, you've got £3,000 here because someone's clipped a wing mirror, but you've already settled that for £750. There's £5,000 because somebody's reversed into a bollard, which unfortunately does happen. Someone's reversed
Not
into
guilty,
a bollard.
wasn't me.
Well, you look guilty. But someone's reversed into that bollard and the claim is £5,000. But in reality, the bollard's not making a claim. So helping to challenge back onto the insurers to be able to say, well, look, these are unfair and unrealistic reserves has helped us drive down. And I think must have been in 2023, we saw a huge new insurance premium quote come through right on Christmas as well. I think it was about the 22nd of December. And it came through and it almost doubled our premium from the year before. Lots of reasons for that. Some of them are our own fault, and we accept that. But what was really challenging was this claims reserve. So FSGB helped us right on Christmas to go through that. And then we knocked off nearly £100,000 for the year on our premium, which is really significant in a market like ours, where margins are tight and we've got a fixed income and we don't have fixed costs. So yeah, being incredibly helpful.
That's fantastic. Now, I believe your insurer actually provided a bursary for in-vehicle cameras.
To be fair, the bursary was for our choice. So we could choose what to spend it on. So what we have done in the past is we've spent it on in-vehicle training. So we've brought in, with the help of FSGB, organising it for us, we've brought in drivers, external driver trainers, to sit in the vehicle with members of our team that need some extra coaching and extra support because they may have had an incident, they may have had tracking showing that they're speeding consistently, something along those lines. So we spent it on that in the past, and that's an ongoing process for us. But yeah, we've made the decision this year for AI cameras. We've had front and rear facing cameras for some time, but they're very good in terms of the retrospective aspect of safety. So after there's been an incident, we can see, was it our driver's fault? Was it a third party's fault? What was it that caused the incident? But it's not reactive. It's not proactive. It doesn't stop it on the day. So the AI cameras are very different. So the AI cameras have a little box, essentially, that sits above the visor on the driver, and it will monitor the driver. It doesn't record the driver constantly. If something triggers it, then there's a recording that happens. And that can be triggered because someone's picked up a mobile phone.
Right.
They might not be wearing a seatbelt. They might be looking elsewhere. They might fall asleep at the wheel. It could be anything. And like most modern cars now, where you, if you're a bit too close to the car in front of you,
you get
and you'll get
all the lane tracking
and
what have you.
it'll brake for you and things like that. This won't brake for you, but what it will do is it will instantly alert you to potential hazards and potential danger.
And is that a sound alert or a visual alert?
Both. So you get a sound alert, then you get a visual. So on the box, it will pretty much tell you what's gone wrong through symbols. So it'll be a mobile phone symbol, for instance. And what that then does is once that's been triggered, it then captures the video. So it captures what's happened. And that video then gets an alert sent to our fleet team and the manager of that individual to alert them that the driver has potentially done something unsafe. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go through a disciplinary process or anything like that. It could be coaching, it could be support, but it also means that if we do have something that is illegal, like texting or using your phone while driving, not hands-free, anything like that, then it does allow us to also manage those processes, because it's so important for us from a safety point of view. We transport people. We transport some really, really vulnerable and unwell people. And then the vehicles that we use are big vehicles. We're talking, full-size vans. They can be really dangerous and they can hurt people significantly if you're not paying correct attention. So, all about health and safety, all about ensuring that our patients are safe, our drivers are safe, and the public are safe.
Which is a ample response to anybody who might think it's a bit of a big brother on the shoulder.
It's a challenge because a lot of people do think it's Big Brother, and it's quite difficult sometimes to manage that message because ultimately it's recording you. It will record you if you do something wrong. But if you don't do something wrong and you're driving safely, paying attention to the road and doing all the right things, one, you're not being recorded. Two, you're not being alerted to your manager, and you're not going to have a big flag that's coming out at you saying you're doing something wrong. You're only going to have that if you are doing something unsafe.
Yeah.
And I think all of us goes back to the point you made earlier about wanting to get home to your family every night.
Absolutely.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
Everyone.
And those really, really vulnerable patients.
Of course.
And who, no driver would want to feel responsible if something absolutely terrible happened to those people. So that's absolutely incredible. And isn't technology marvelous that this can be
It really
developed?
is. And I think, the secondary benefit, and it is a secondary benefit because safety is absolutely the first port of call for this. The secondary benefit is we do think it will reduce our costs. We think it will reduce our repair and maintenance costs. We think it will reduce our insurance costs over time, or at least stabilise our insurance costs, because every year we're seeing them increase. If we could stabilise, and as I said before, we're on pretty much a fixed base revenue, that will help us maintain a sustainable business. And so that's hopefully what we're going to get out of these cameras.
Yeah, so diligence all round pay is essentially in every way, human and monetary. I understand, and I've noticed some of the some of the terminology has changed. So you're rolling out a review and learning checklist. That's what you've called it, a review and learning checklist for post-incident follow-ups.
Yeah.
You've not called it an accident investigation form, and that feels deliberate.
Yeah.
Is the goal to move away from the blame culture, which I don't think you've had for some time, but the industry needs to generally move away from?
Absolutely. So I started in this industry 14 years ago. And actually, one of my line managers back then, every time anyone said the word accident, used to correct you. And I would say it's an incident.
Right.
Because accident infers guilt. And an incident means that, something has happened that maybe could be out of your control. It means that we need to investigate. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, the right approach. We need to ensure that, one, we're not blaming people unreasonably, but if someone has done something that was preventable and someone has done something that they could have done better, it's our obligation to help them to not do that again.
Yeah.
And, to help them with learning, coaching, support. That's really, really important. My background was HR, so, I'm very keen on the learning and development stages. And, our aim is to retain good people in our business, but to make them safe at what they're doing. So to be able to follow a learning and development process in this, I think is key.
How does FSGB support you in that?
So I mentioned earlier around instant reporting and, the first notification of loss. So everything goes to FSGB. So we've got a great ability there to track everything that's going on. And then we get the data and we get the reporting from FSGB that is instantly at our fingertips. So we're able to identify those drivers that need additional support.
Yeah.
Those drivers that may have been in incidents, they may have had regular low value incidents. So it's not always about the big one, it's not always about driving into a third party and causing, thousands of pounds worth of damage. We're able to see if someone has clipped 2-3 wing mirrors, has reversed into something, but there's no damage, for instance. We're able to see that level of detail. What that does then is it gives us a driver score. And that driver score then allows us to be able to meet with that person, talk to them. Might be just a conversation that's needed. We could then go through the in-cab, in-person training that we organise through FSGB. But then we're able to follow up on the process as well. So we're able to log throughout the system all the actions that we've taken. We're able to see a full record of that driver's history. and we're able to then make future decisions on what's appropriate for that individual. And it does allow us to make it on an individual basis rather than company-wide. And we've got a workforce at almost 1,400 in that we have. You have to, you could easily fall into the trap of making sweeping judgments and treating everybody the same.
Yeah.
Using the data and the intelligence that we've got at our fingertips through FSGB just means that we can treat every individual as they need to be treated.
And can that support come in the form of in-vehicle training as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we can have an element of that in-house. So, it might be that someone just needs a little bit of help or some monitoring. So we just send one of our mentors out, or we send a manager out, and they can just help and coach that person. But if they need actual training from a professional, it's all managed through FSGB, and it's a really easy process for our managers to just add somebody to the list that they need training, and then that gets booked through the manager in the FSGB system, and that person comes out and spends half a day with any driver across the UK that we have that needs help.
It's a real wraparound solution, isn't it? Fantastic. Now, we couldn't have a conversation at the moment without talking about the government's new road safety strategy and the targets they put in place for 2035. It's an ambitious statistic, 65% reduction in serious incidents. You're hitting high benchmarks anyway. Are you going to be leading the charge on this?
Oh, I don't know about leading charge.
Setting a good example.
Hopefully that's our aim. Look, it's an ever evolving process, health and safety, and you can never sit still. That because something is always going to creep up on you. I think the government's plans are good because it means that everyone needs to get up to a certain standard.
Yeah.
For what I've seen and what I've been informed of what the potential changes are, it means that most of what we're already doing is going to be, either mandatory or certainly advised to all operators of fleet. And that's a really good thing because, not always is it our drivers or your issue or my issue on the road. It can be other people's. So having everybody at a benchmark and at a level, I think, is really important. If we can help in that in any way, we absolutely will and we want to. But as I say, it's an ever-evolving project and process. You can't sit still on health and safety and fleet safety.
It suggests in the strategy that road risk and managing road risk is now a board level duty. As CEO, do you see it as such?
Absolutely. I don't know, what was it, 10, 12 years ago, we had corporate manslaughter. So firstly, there's that importance to every individual CEO that sits at the top, because you are legally responsible, and so you should be, and I do believe so. You should be. You should have that responsibility to ensure that people are safe, because they come into work and expect to be safe. We discuss every month a fleet report. So we have a fleet report that gets submitted to our executive team every month. So we have our board meeting, and that fleet report is reviewed. And we look at it from every aspect, whether that be from a cost aspect, from a safety aspect, repeat incidents, various things. And we're able to drive down decisions as a result of that. So if we take, for instance, the AI cameras that we spoke about, that's been approved by our board. And actually our parent company in Spain are very, very supportive of it. So we're part of a wider group who are significantly bigger than we are in terms of size. They are the largest provider of ambulances in Spain, slightly different model. They do emergency ambulances as well, but they don't operate the AI cameras. So they're looking at this with vested interest because it's really, really important to us. So yeah, fleet and safety in fleet can be very expensive. There's no doubt about it. And you can either have the controlled cost, and you can have the controlled cost of putting in cameras, front facing, rear facing, internal cameras that we have as well in the back of our vehicles where the patients sit. vehicle tracking, all good safety features. We invest in the highest level of safety features available on all of our new vehicles. So whether that's lane departure, reversing cameras, and so on, all those things. But then the AI cameras, I think, is the next step. That then allows us to control some cost. What is easy to do is to forget about it all and say, well, we'll be okay. And then you've got the uncontrolled cost of vehicles off road, repair and maintenance costs going up. You've got injury to your staff, which might cause absence. You've got injury to third parties and members of the public. You've got reputational damage, all of those things. So that, fleet is an expensive thing. And we are a fleet organization. Ultimately, we are a transport and logistics organization. We transport patients. We transport people instead of packages. So in my opinion, the responsibility on us is even greater. So 100%.
Has to start at the top.
Really does.
And that's all very much a company culture thing. And obviously now you're taking on the acquisition of First Care and your expansion into the Southwest, which is exciting. How are you planning to sort of HTGify their safety culture to move forward and also to meet those really quite ambitious 2035 standards?
Yep. So really exciting for us. We finalised the acquisition of First Care Ambulance Service in January of this year, and they're a great business. They've been operating the non-emergency patient transport contract in Devon for over 10 years. Very, very well respected. And they've done some really great things around safety, fleet management, and so on. And there's things we can learn from them. And we're really open to that. The fact is we'll learn from them as well as they can learn from us. Where I think we can really benefit the First Care business is around the safety and fleet management aspect. So as a smaller organization, they relied on slightly more old-fashioned methods of safety management. So whether that be through paper-based daily vehicle checks or through training at the beginning of someone's employed, and then slightly more, maybe some regular follow-up training, but not going through things like the e-learning, the driver scores, the Achieve program, and things like that. They wouldn't have had access to those things. So what we can now do is introduce all of these new tools. And the managers that we've spoken to are really excited by it. They really like the idea to be able to control everything at their fingertips, see everything that they need to make them more proactive, which, let's be fair, you need to be in safety management. So they're excited by it. They are looking forward to the ability to be able to just manage their fleet differently and ensure those staff get home every night.
Who wouldn't be? That's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, all of that data at your fingertips and the access to that support. You mentioned the e-learners. I know that FSGB is just about to roll out some video e-learners as well. So they're always evolving the way that they're communicating with your drivers. So now there's a lot of talk about these mandatory eye tests. I believe for a certain age group of people in this road safety strategy. How do you ensure that your drivers, I mean, they're in charge of lives, as you say, we're transporting people. How do you make sure they're physically and mentally sort of fit for their day at work?
Yeah, so in terms of eyesight tests, everybody that drives on company business, whether that is they're transporting our patients or they're driving a company car, everyone is signed up to the FSGB app. And in there, we have to, myself included, wearing my glasses, we have to state the date of our last eye test and whether we've got a prescription or not. And then you'll get a reminder based on, whatever you've had from your optician. You'll get a reminder to go and have a further eye test in 2 years' time. And you'll get consistent reminders. And if you don't go and do that, then your manager will get an alert and so on. So from that perspective, it means that we're treating everyone in the same way. We're not basing it on age. We're not basing it on anyone over 70. Whether you're 18 and just passed your test or whether you're, a bit older, it doesn't matter. If you need to have your eyes tested every couple of years. So that's really important to us. But then, when we look at the in-cab driver training that we've been rolling out now for just over 12 months, a lot of that driver training is about well-being, and it's about how do you feel when you get up in the morning? How do you feel when you get into the vehicle? Because ultimately, if you don't feel safe and you don't feel right, a lot of our crews are double crewed. So we encourage conversation between the crews, and it might be that one day you just don't feel right and you just don't feel like taking the driving responsibility at that time is the safest thing to do. And we encourage people to have that conversation, and we encourage them to swap the driving throughout the day so they're always refreshed and they're always concentrating on the road. So, we try and empower people to make those good decisions.
And really, again, going back to that wraparound care for your employees. Final thought. If you were sitting down with a fleet manager starting today, what's the one HTG habit they should be adopting to make their fleet safer?
I think it's the daily vehicle checks.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly important. And quality of data, though, that's the one piece we've not spoken about is it can be really easy just to do your daily vehicle check. Go, yes, 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 yes. Everything's fine, clear, gone. So it's the quality of those checks that is really important. And it's having the fleet manager talking to the operational managers, talking to the staff, constant reminders, communication, literature, all reminding people of why this is so important. And then it's about the quality of what they're presenting. Because, we have seen it in the past where we'll have an incident reported and they'll come in the morning. So someone will come in the morning and they'll say, there's a bang on the side of the vehicle. You can see a dent. Well, that wasn't reported the day before. So the question is, when you leave the vehicle and you're doing your exit vehicle check, why is that not being reported? So it allows us to be able to track that, and it allows us to go back to the person that was driving the vehicle the day before so we can understand what happened, how we can make sure those things don't happen again. But it's about the quality and the discussion that we have with that person that we believe may have been at fault for that issue. It's so important that we know about it. And so it's important we have quality data.
Neil, it's been such a pleasure again, and we'd love to have you back a third time. Could you bear it?
I can. I'm not sure if anyone else.
It's always really interesting to talk to you, and I love the fact that safety isn't just a cost centre. It really does feel like this is a comprehensive wraparound sort of safety culture, and it's an inspiration to the rest of the industry. Perhaps we can look forward to seeing you at our workshop on the 15th of April.
I'll try.
Wonderful. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.